with Andrew Jackson from Freet, and you were just saying that our sort of connection in the barefoot world goes back maybe 5 to 7 years, round about, I think, pre-pandemic. I think everything's 2020. Pandemic is like the new timeline. It's the new before Christ AD.
I think even before that, you and I have been mates, probably even 7 or 8 or 9 years, which is, in barefoot terms, is ancient history. You know, you think about now, there's probably 70 or 80 brands out there, which is a fantastic thing. We're certainly one of the originals. We're tracking back 15 years or so. And what an evolution we've seen over that time. I know you, Angus, you've been in the whole barefoot thing probably pre-Freet.
Yeah, but about 15 years, sort of 2011ish. I've got a really wide foot and quite a short foot, so finding shoes for me has been a nightmare. Plus, my ankle doesn't bend past 90 degrees. I have like a funny bone thing happening. So I walk very forefoot on my toes. So having a heel shortens my Achilles even more. Then all I wanted was a pair of trainers, and barefoot just it was like everyone's trying to do barefoot this, barefoot that, and I just wanted a pair of trainers. Then I came across an ad for Freet, and it was the Freet Flex, and there's just a simple trainer, and I was like, wow. And then I try it on, I make this YouTube video, I buy it, I try it on, I make this video, and I just call it the holy grail of barefoot shoes. This is before I know how to title videos, before I know how to do an intro, and people just really connected with that, because I think a lot of people were looking for the holy grail of barefoot shoes. They don't need the Nordic swamp boot, they don't need, you know, you need a pair of everyday trainers, and then from there you need a pair of everyday dog walking boots or walking boots, and then from there you can branch out to the, you know, the aqua ski boot, or, you know, a very niche shoe, you know, a track shoe, and, like, you know, the Freet Milo, a gym shoe that's more purpose built. You know, shoes do have purposes, in you know, one shoe would be ideal to do everything, but you are in different climates, different weather systems, or different terrain. You know, walking in town is different to walking on the trail. So, I mean, the Freet Flex was awesome. And then the Vibe recently, last year, was awesome. And that's when you were just saying before we recorded that you came up to my gym and you had an early prototype of the Vibe. And that got me all, like, excited, because I'm like, what are those? Because I didn't know that. I didn't even think about prototype shoes. I'm just like, what are those? Those look amazing. I'm like, why is this guy not wearing Freet shoes? I thought this was a Freet guy. And you're like, oh, these are the new Vibe. These are Freet shoes.
Absolutely. What you say really resonates. I mean, 80% or plus of what we say are simple trainers or hiking boots. You know, in a way, we have Flex. We've always had a Muddy, and for us, there are kind of iconic products. If you want to go out, you know, going out trekking, hiking, you might you might wear Muddy, and the rest of the time you might be hanging out in your Flexes. And then, of course, you get the creep, and I love developing products, and so my guys are always say, "Oi, Andrew, get back in your box. Go sit down in a dark room. You can't design anymore. No more shoes. We've got enough. We should be cutting back on the range, not increasing it." But then we thought, you know, well, really coming up to see you, we thought, wow, it would be so lovely to do something a little bit more specific on the gym side, strength training, power training, and it's really down to your enthusiasm, your knowledge, skill, interest in this area that we kind of came up with Milo.
Yeah.
And you've been, you know, tell me about your ideas on that.
So, you know, it makes sense to train barefoot when you're strength training. You know, all the world record deadlifts are done actually barefoot. It's you know, but gyms don't necessarily allow you to be barefoot. Plus, there's weights. You can drop things on your toes and things. You know, so we've got this defensive bit on the front of the toe. And you know, I've had the Milo a few days and it's protected my toe twice. Just random gym accidents and like toe punting bits of metal in the gym. So I'm like, okay, you know, that's awesome that we got that on there. Squats as well. A lot of people like a heel on a squat, but it needs to be a firm heel. But you can just use a squat wedge, or you put some weight plates underneath your heels. That's what I do. And I like a flexible forefoot for that. And I also want my toes to spread. So a lot of the shoes out there, they can be quite hard, but they'll have quite a kind of deep sole and a deep kind of insole on them. So they're quite high up, which takes you further away from the ground. And this contact to the ground is important. My pet peeve. So there are some specific training shoes. Nike make one called the Nike Metcon. Reebok make one called the Nano. There's another company called Nobull. They make them. The Nike, funnily enough, are maybe the widest toe box out of all of them, which is not, you know, something Nike is known for. But they really listen to their athletes, and their athletes like, hey, we need to have a nice stable base on the front so we don't roll on our feet. So the more stable you are, the more power you can generate. The brain, you got a thing called proprioception, which is your muscles. It will tell you. So it's quite well known in the barefoot world, when you trip and fall, the more ground feel you have, the quicker your muscles react. The signal doesn't go to your brain; it goes to the tendons, and you know, and you react. So if you stumble, you react before the signal goes to the brain, because it would be too slow. The most obvious example is like a hot surface, and your hand moves instantly off the hot surface. It's not like the signal goes to your brain and go, oh, that is hot, I better move my hand before I burn it. The body the nervous system makes that decision before. But it's the same thing with strength. So if you're in a spongy shoe and you're trying to lift something heavy off the floor, the brain says, hey, this is an unstable surface. We got to downregulate the power, because you're going to injure yourself. You're going to roll over your ankle, you're going to hurt your knee, you're going to hurt your lower back. Then the other issue you have with like a spongy trainer is, if you are out running in it, you might be right foot dominant, which means that right foot hits the ground a bit harder. And now they're slightly uneven, which means when you're lifting something off the ground, one foot's a couple of mil lower than the other. As that translates up the body, you're either going to put pressure on your knees, your hips, or your lower back. And then everyone complains about a lower back, but it's probably your trainer. So I've been running a youth class sort of after school, and all the guys have spongy trainers. That's what they wear to school. And then the first thing I do is like, hey, if we're going to lift, we're going to do stuff barefoot. And then the guys just need to do it once or twice. They're in their socks. And my gym's not perfect to be barefoot. You know, there's like small stones everywhere. It's just, you know, it's a floor, and people come in with their trainers. So you don't want to be barefoot. You want to be in your socks. And everyone's like, oh my God, I just like, wow. Like they're instantly convinced. And so this is my son's Milo, and he was, when you sent up the sample, sort of the pre one, he puts it on. This is his first time wearing barefoot shoes, which is, you know, I've got 4 kids. One of my sons, Leo, he's had a pair of Flex, but everyone else is not into barefoot. It's dad's weird thing, and like, you know, they're not ready to listen to dad. They haven't read the books I've read. They haven't experienced barefoot. They also don't have my weird foot shape. He tries this trainer on, just one of them, and he's dancing about. He's like, I feel so free. And I'm like, yeah, you know, freedom for feet. It's crazy. So he's got them, and he just like loves them. He's 18 now. Now his brain's sort of more developed, and it's not anti-dad. He's sort of like, well, maybe dad knows some stuff. It's so funny, because you know, my clients listen to me. They pay me for advice. I give the advice to my kids for free, and they're like, oh, whatever, dad, loser. And so he's loving the shoe. And it was his idea for the flat lace, which is super important actually in a pair of lifting shoes, because you want your instep, you want the tongue to hold down, and you don't want any of this, you don't want any pressure on the front of your foot. You want that, or you want evenly distributed pressure, which is kind of like what barefoot shoes do.
Earlier sample had the round lace, so that was great input from you.
That was cool. So I mean, the final product is awesome. It's a really good lifting shoe. I honestly can't believe that I've had input into something that I hope will be revolutionary, and people will really just adopt and try on, and not even for the barefoot market, for the gym market,
Sure.
exclusively. If you put these on, put these in your gym bag, they're nice and lightweight, put them in your gym bag, put them on in the gym, you get your session done, whether you're training for high rocks, CrossFit, powerlifting, or you're just in the gym doing your gym stuff. I think if you're strongman training, whatever you're training, they're going to be useful for all that. And then you put on your regular shoes. I think there's only a few cases where I would say don't use them, and that would be a cyclist, just because they have to strap their feet into these tiny little shoes. Although I did see there was a barefoot cycling shoe coming onto the market, which there's no reason not to have a barefoot cycling shoe, because if you want to live the whole barefoot lifestyle, you can't just be squeezing yourself into this really
squeezed in. No reason.
Yeah. And then I have a young kid who's a footballer. I say young kid, he's like 14, 15. He's, well on his way to becoming a professional footballer. He's a really good athlete. He's really dedicated. And he's like, oh, should I get these? And I'm like, probably not, because you don't want your feet to get too wide, because you got to squeeze yourself. You're looking at a £1 million contract or healthy feet. You have to make a choice. And that's quite a tough choice.
Yeah. Tough and easy.
Yeah. So apart from that, I think every gym user should have these, and I think every gym user will find a really huge benefit to these. I think they'll be quite astounded on how much stronger they become, how much stronger their body allows them to become. It allows them to express the strength they already have, which means they can push sets and reps and become stronger in the gym, and safer, more stable. The rolling over ankles and things, and just the sheer power output, and even things like jumping onto a bike for a warm-up, they're great for that. Rowing machine, they've locked in really well for that. There was just like little things, and also everyday comfort. I find them super, super comfy just to be coaching in. They're not like I wear my normal shoes and then I swap over. I'm just in them all the time, and then when I have to do a demo, it's really perfect. So I'm super excited. But so just before this call, I've been editing the video and I'm just watching it and I'm like, wow, this really is a good shoe. This really is like
great fun. Yeah.
The perfect gym shoe.
Yeah.
So but the universe is stopping me from making the review at the moment.
It'll come. Yeah, no, I think we just wanted to get that balance, didn't we, of being really specialist where we needed to be in terms of the support, but not to lose the overall lightness and flexibility of the shoe. So we're getting that, that support where we need it here, the protection over the upper, so that, as you say, you can hang out in it quite happily. But when you need that little bit of extra kind of help on your specific activities in the gym, then this shoe, hopefully the Milo's gonna deliver on that. And we were looking around, weren't we, for that kind of mesh? Going to be ultra kind of durable, because it's going to get a lot of abrasion and a lot of a lot of work there in the gym. That was both very, very durable, but very breathable and comfortable, on if you're wearing them with or without socks. We looked at, materials. We were using a microfiber, sort of advanced microfiber for the protection across here. We looked at different materials for that and across the back as well. And then getting that balance with the tongue of giving that little bit of comfort across here, but also being very thin, and again within the whole kind of minimalist barefoot thing. We've got that stitched outsole, our new urban grip outsole, and I think that's again going to give you that added durability, which we at Freet really believe that sustainability starts with making a shoe that's not going to go into landfill too soon. Okay, here maybe I want shoes to wear out quickly because I can sell more. To be honest, we sell enough shoes, honestly, enough shoes to put fuel in the van, go go out the odd time running and what have you. So it's about then making something that we can look at ourselves in the mirror and say that, you know, it's going to last, and it's going to deliver for as long as it's around. So, for example, with that Urban Grip, we put an extra millimeter of rubber on in the outsole, and we do the abrasion testing to make sure that there is no rubber compound that's going to be better. Giving that the grip that you're going to need on those various gym services, but also it's going to be it's going to be that bit more durable, and you've still got the ground contact, you've still got the ability to feel the surfaces you're on, but the sustainability for us starts with, with that inbuilt durability and long lasting. And then, all those materials on there pretty much are our bottle yarn, variants of our bottle yarn, which is a recycled, basically recycled plastic bottles that we work with. So yeah, we've been, excited to kind of bring all that together and really to work with you, Angus, so closely as a gym owner and a gym expert, to be able to deliver something that we feel proud to, to kind of sort of recommend to people out there, that they're not going to be, buy this, you're not going to be disappointed. It's not going to break the bank. We ain't going to overcharge. That's something we also feel pretty strongly about. We're here to deliver the very best performance footwear, but, not a greedy price. I suppose, I don't know, sounds a bit pretentious, but it's just like, reasonable price, and sort of, take it from there, really.
Yeah, I don't think there's many specific gym shoes where there's much utility for the price. A couple of shoes, like I mentioned, the Nike Metcon, I think they come in at like 120 to 150, that sort of price. Maybe there's older ones you can get cheaper secondhand, eBay, that sort of thing. And then you've got Noble. They were 120-ish last time I looked, but everything's gone up in price. Vivo do one called the Motor Strength. It's 165, which is just that's a wild price. I think the Milos are in at £90 if I remember. So under the 100. Plus, I think racket sports, you can play racket sports because of that breathability in it will be fine. You got a lot of utility with them as a shoe. And also, if you are, say you're driving to the gym, you can put those on in the house, drive to the gym and get your workout done. With some of the other shoes are the base is quite solid, that they're not comfortable to walk with, especially if you've got like a high-heeled Olympic lifting shoe that's purpose-built just for the Olympic lifts. And those can be really expensive. Those can be like 100 to 200, and they have one use, and maybe you buy one pair in your lifetime. And if you really love colors, maybe you buy a couple of pairs, but you maybe buy one pair in your lifetime, but you don't walk about the gym. You're always swapping in and out. And I like the idea of one shoe. I don't want to, this is my shoe for warming up, this is my shoe for Olympic lifts, this is my shoe for running, this is my shoe for this. I want to get one pair of shoes on, get my gym session done, kind of like the way your foot is intended to be. And if you are using these just for the gym, and as long as your foot isn't growing and changing size, you could probably get away with one pair of these for the rest of your life. If you're training 4 hours a week and that's the only time you wear the shoe, this is one shoe for life. You probably won't wear it out. If you do decide to walk 10,000 steps in it, you will eventually wear out the rubber depending on the surface you're walking on, just like you would any trainer. But if you are using it specifically just for the gym, you could just tick that off quite happily as one pair of shoes for the specific activity that you do. So I think that's interesting. I'll be wearing it a lot, and I'm quite hard on shoes, so I'm really looking forward to see what like the 6-month update on these is like. What is happening on these? The last shoe I had that really wore to death was the Vibe, and that was the Vibe 1 rather than the Vibe 2, and it's still got life in it. I mean, it's not pretty now, but it's still got miles in it. I'm very heavy on the forefoot. It's just the way I walk, and I used it for every gym session. So the side of the Vibe there is kind of split. Again, this is where this lateral slap on the Milo is going to come in. The sole here is fairly worn, but it's not worn all the way through. And that's the previous sole. So this sole's
there's another millimeter of rubber. Yeah.
Another millimeter of rubber and stitched on the outside
Yeah.
where that Vibe is just kind of glued on, isn't it? The older one. Yeah.
So it's
And that one's survived well. And it's quite interesting. So I've got two people with Vibe in the gym. They come in and I'm like, I look at their feet and I'm like, oh wow, you got Vibe. And then a new kid just started and he's got the Swale. And I was looking at them, I'm like, I reckon, I'm like, wow, those are swell. And they look great on him. And just to see him, like his feet flat on the floor when he's doing some of his lifts are like, yeah, you like, it's so obvious. You look so stable. And I mean, that's a kind of lightweight trail booty, but it's still flat and grippy, you know, and I'm pretty sure that's got the stitched outsole on it. But that looks fantastic on him.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's the missus's favourite product, is that, and I wasn't, you know, I love it, and I love developing it, but I wasn't really going to bring it to market because it's, you know, we were talking earlier about the niche thing, and you know, it's kind of a boot, but it's water in, water out. It's got little holes all over it, so it's very, very breathable, and so for a lot of people, if they're going to buy a bootie for hiking, it's got to have a membrane in it. It's got to be waterproof and all this, that, and the other. And so by making it not, you instantly put it in a smaller niche, which means you ain't going to sell as many. You know, and she was right. It was worth bringing to market, and a little lesson for me that you know, in a way, you should keep true to what you believe is good product, and you know, it may take a little longer to develop as a good seller, but believe in it. And one thing we have in the business is I'm absolutely adamant on is that we won't bring a shoe to market unless I say, look guys, do we love this shoe? And if we like it, then it can piss off. We'll flipping bin it, kill it off. If you like it, it's not good enough. We have to all absolutely love this shoe. Then we'll think about, you know, moving it forward. And I think that's what we all feel, you know, with your help. You've been absolutely fundamental to this, you know, to our Milo. You even named it. We'll come on to that in a minute. You tell us about that. But we all look each other in the eye and we say, yeah, we love this shoe. We've all tried it. Most of us are, you know, in the gym, not as specialists as you guys, but we've worn it. And I think that's, you know, one of our overriding principles is you've got to absolutely love something. It probably takes, I mean, what's this been, a year? At least a year in development. Really a couple of years, Milo, from the initial thinking through.
Yeah. We've had a lot of back and forth on it, and then, you know, there was someone else involved in chat. They really wanted a court shoe, a pickleball style shoe. I really wanted a gym shoe, and, you know, sometimes you have to pick one or the other. But by actually specializing, making a gym shoe, but making it breathable and having some of those principles of like the flexibility and stuff, you've actually made a shoe that I think you could wear on the court as well, which is, you know, it's actually really, really unique and cool. It's a sort of secondary feature of it. I'm 100% just happy that this is like a really good sort of gym shoe. But yeah, if you're gonna go, if you know, someone invited me to play a game of badminton, this would be the shoe out of my insane collection of shoes. This is the one I would go for.
We all have that, yeah. That's great.
So yeah, it's cool. And then the Milo. So you had a previous name. I just did not connect with it. I can't remember what it was, and then it just, you know, it popped into my head. My son's actually called Milo, but he's Mylo. So Milo is the sort of father of progressive overload, which is the sort of main principle of lifting weight. So it's a sort of legend of this guy called Milo, and every day he picked up a calf and walked around a small field with it. And then as the calf grew, eventually it was a bull, and then he could walk around with a bull on his back. And whether that story is bullcrap or not, it does highlight what strength is. And a lot of people in the strength world sort of know this story or know of Milo. And I find Milo quite a soft name, but it's also got this undertone of this really epic story and this epic guy with this insane strength, you know. And and again, like Freet, I kind of see Freet as like the underdog in just the shoe world, not even just the barefoot world, in the shoe world. So this shoe is like, I think people who know will look at this shoe and go, oh, they call it Milo. That's cool. That is a great name. You know, it could be, you know, the Freet strength or the, you know, the Freet warrior axe, you know, could have a, you know, badass tough name. But instead it's got this, you know, name. And it could have just been the Freet gym, which would have been
okay.
Yeah, it could have been locked in, and I like that. And I like something with a bit of a story and a bit of a character, because I've noticed there's a brand out there, and they don't just call their shoes black. You know, they've got like a great name that, you know, they're not white, they're coconut, they're, you know, and sometimes it just gets a little bit too much marketing, and it loses its soul because it's too trying to appeal to the coconut matcha latte, you know. It's like hazelnut oil, and you know,
what color is it if it's coconut?
we don't need matcha green, we just need green, you know. Sometimes just, you know, this is a shoe, this is what it does. It's
it's been, and the moment you said, because we bounced it around, we WhatsApped it around a bit, and then suddenly you went Milo, and I looked at Sarah, and we went, that's the one. Angus has nailed it. And I was pitching this shoe to our main Dutch customer, Barefoot and More, who are absolutely awesome business in Holland, in the Netherlands. And you've got a husband and wife who we've known since 10 years, really, since they started their first store. We've watched their family grow up, you know, no kids, one kid, two kids, and off you go. And Esther is the lady there, and she's as sharp as anything. But I said, oh, and she said, so what we calling this shoe? And I said, oh, it's the Milo. And I said, I started to talk a little about the story. She says, I'll stop you there. And then she pulled on her older kid on screen who did this. And she said, what's your name? And he goes, Milo. So she's on I mean, she knows, not because of the name, although she loves the name. Knows that it's gonna be, you know, just a great shoe for them, and they'll enjoy selling it. Their customers will enjoy wearing it and using it, and that's kind of what we do. You know, it's no big drama. We're just here to, you know, make the best shoes we can, and then make them better. So you and I'll be looking to you. I'll be going, Angus. So what are we going to do for Milo 2 then, huh?
No. There's. I mean, we're gonna absolutely destroy these ones and put them through their paces, and
destroying. Yeah,
and just really see where they break down, where they tear down. If they do, you know, sometimes, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, there's
fiddling too much.
Yeah, there's things with colorways. Like, I wanted a slightly fatter lace on it, but my son, he loves the lace. He's happy with the lace. So the I see, I love the yellow, and I quite like the yellow tab. I mean, there's
black. We talked, didn't we?
Yeah, and then sometimes it's, you know, you need to have the logo. Maybe we could add a bit of a logo down there, you know, and these are just cosmetic things.
But
and you might just do full black stitching and just have this yellow tab. That could look really cool as well, where it's just, you know, one thing, and then you kind of see the stitching, these kind of triangular bits on the front there. I love that it kind of matches the sole. But if it was black and only
Well,
you, the user, yeah.
change that. That was your idea.
And yeah, just like that's cool. Oh, the other thing I really like is a black shoe with a gum sole.
So I was going to wonder about. I mean, they're non-marking soles, so they'll be
Yeah.
fine in the court. But sometimes some courts ban, dark coloured soles. So to have a gum, I'll make a note of that a gum sole. And would you do it on a black, or would you do a different colourway?
Oh, I love black. Black and gum is just my favorite colorway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it just looks awesome.
Do a different pop, instead of the acid yellowy
Yeah,
color, we could do the black with a gum, natural sort of gum color outsole, and then well, yeah, maybe a different stitching or that heel tab or something.
yeah. I you could even leave the heel tab yellow and just do all the stitching black. I think that would look,
Oh, so yeah, all black.
and again, these are just cosmetic things, not the actual functionality of the shoe.
Yeah, yeah. No, that'll come through, as you say. The development process needs to be that these things get hammered
Yeah,
and hammered for 6 or 9 months, and during that time, some things will emerge that we can just, look at finessing. Not always the case, but I always like, we have this thing at Freet that it's a continuous improvement thing. There is no such thing as the final product. That'll be the time that we, that we kind of hand over the keys to someone to someone else if we think, oh, we've made the ideal shoe, the perfect shoe. So some things are under the bonnet, and we don't have to go to another version. But other things are, that you need to go to the number 2 or number 3 or number 4, and that's something that we're kind of obsessed about. So there will be things, and yeah, no, look forward to it. Let's see where we are in 5 or 8 years.
yeah. That's mad. Yeah, I mean that's the way to look forward and always innovating, around this core concept of like flexible, wide toe box, zero drop,
Sure.
these things.
Yeah.
And I mean, these things have just improved my foot health dramatically. Just my feet feel always good. I generally don't have any injuries, around the feet. And, I walk miles, sometimes in barefoot shoes. I go running in barefoot shoes. I'm not particularly light either. So,
Yeah.
I land nice and soft. People are always quite surprised at how softly I land. And it's like, yeah, I've just got good mechanics. I run the way humans should run rather than, smashing my heel into the ground to shave, 10 minutes off my half
Yeah.
marathon time. I just run smoothly, run for the enjoyment. So,
Yeah.
Andrew, I'd love to ask you what your current favorite shoes are. Maybe your top 3 picks from Freet.
Something I'm just giving a real bash to. It's just arrived, really. So it's developed, but up in Yorkshire, it's about the first day. Well, we were way up in the Arctic ski touring last week, so we're back to some spring. So I'm straight in the Solcombs, which is we developed this kind of mold for sandals, a year ago, and this is the first product we put on it. We thought about a slide, but then we put the back strap on, and I think you would concur with that. I don't know what I was thinking, really. Someone put me right on it, but if you've got a slide, your foot is working. You
Yeah,
are engaging your foot in a non-natural way.
yeah,
Though there are slides out there, but there shouldn't. Well, no, I'm not saying there shouldn't be. I'm just saying that for me, you need to have your foot completely relaxed in the shoe. So these have just hit. In fact, along with Milo, same sort of delivery. So I'm going to love wearing this all summer. It's casual and it's a thing you put on after activity, perhaps. But I'm going to trek in it. I'm going to try and break it. I think I'll struggle because we've designed it again. It's sort of experience that you've got to put durability and strength into the product first, really. So we've got this. We've got a 4mm rubber, beautiful kind of combination of natural and synthetic rubber. And then you've got this mole, which is dual density. So you've got a slightly softer top sheet, which is just lovely and so comfortable. And then you've got a stronger second layer in here. And then you've got the strapping going beneath this. So
Okay.
the least I would go is 11mm. And someone will say, oh, I'd rather have 4mm or 2mm and what have you. Well, you might have to go buy someone else's shoe, because I want this to last and last and last. So I think 11mm is fine. You've still got, you roll it into a ball like you can with everything we do, but you've got the strength in there as well. You've got a, leather working group, which is a wonderful way of ensuring that right down the supply chain of your leather production, you've got ethical practice, and you've got a full grain leather, so absolute best of the best, and just a little bit of buckling there, 3 ways to be able to ensure that you can fine tune that fit. And so that's what I've kind of got off on in the office. And I know, you've got probably better things to do this morning, but I'm on a roll now. So I'm also on with developing something else for this mold that we've got. So it's that same mold that we're talking about. It would have a grippier outsole, really for trail hiking and running. But I couldn't have screwed this strapping up more. And I was just chatting with the guys over in Asia about it, and I say, look, flipping heck, between us, we've made such a bad job of this. It's a prototype sample, but it feels all wrong when it's on your foot. And so we're right back this morning, right back to the drawing board on this. And to be honest, I don't think it'll make it for spring summer 26. And it goes back to what we were saying before. We have to absolutely love it. We've got to love it. It's got to be right before we'll bring it to market. So that's something we're kind of working on. Looking at bringing on our factory or our supply base in Vietnam, and of course this is coming out of Vietnam, and just the detail and the quality that we're getting with Milo is giving me more and more confidence in what we're doing in Vietnam. This is another, so we've got a kind of our version of a Chelsea. We call it the Durham, for obvious reason. We've got Durham 35 minutes up the road, which is very dear to our hearts, because Sarah and I were both at college there. So we've got another product coming out of Vietnam. There we've got mountain boots coming through for autumn winter 26. This was all put to bed, kind of 4 or 5 months ago, coming through production, but that's going to be a thing of beauty, but still something that you can roll into a ball and put in
wow.
But it's it's a full-on kind of mountain boot with our ultra grippy outsole. So I could go on, but suffice to say, we're having a lot of fun here. And one of the things, there's nothing gives us more pleasure than to be able to work with an old mate and someone who has real expertise in in what you do, in the whole kind of gym arena. So I just would like to take this opportunity to say a big thank you, Angus.
Well, likewise. Thank you. Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool to collab on a pair of shoes. It's really cool to get, if the only happy customer is me, it's probably not worth it financially, but I'm super happy with them. I think they're absolutely, they're just magic. Well, there's 2 of us that love these. I think there's gonna be a few.
Yeah, we believe in it. We love it, and therefore, we bring it to market, and it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Yeah, and I would love to tout it out to non-barefoot people, just with the with the goal of hey, it's just going to improve your numbers. This is a performance aid, because we're not adding all these features that you don't need. We're just allowing your foot to work as it should, with structure and stability that it needs, and nothing more. So I think a lot of people will get quite shocked, and I mean it's going to be really fascinating to see other YouTubers' reviews on the shoe, and what they like and what they don't like, because I'm going to be insanely biased.
Me
just
too.
because this is the shoe I want. But it'd be really interesting to see someone else go, oh, I don't like this, don't like this. Why have they done this? And then be like, all right, okay, yeah, sometimes they make a good point. Sometimes they don't make a good point. So I think that'll be, and I would love to see someone who's maybe not in the barefoot space at all. Someone
Yeah,
who's just a shoe person or a gym person. It's like, oh, like, yeah, this was a great shoe. This they were right. This did do all these things for me. That's what I would be really interested in the coming months to see that happening.
yeah,
And it's just, yeah, it's a good shoe, and maybe people decide they want to go running in it, and they love it because you got that lateral strap, and it doesn't get in the way of
yeah,
your kind of toe flex, your toe bend. You've got see if people take it up for pickleball, people who are barefoot, people who are looking for a court shoe, because I think that's something that's just missing. And I mean, the courts can be very flat and hard, and sometimes you do want a bit of sponge in your
yeah,
shoe if you're not used to barefoot or your foot mechanics aren't that good. And going forward is one thing, but going the side to side in different angles, if your ankle strength, if you haven't developed that ankle strength barefoot wise, maybe that not so much for you. Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see how the Milo fares in the market, and how
yeah,
people react to it.
yeah.
Especially people who are new to Freet. I think that's going to be exciting. And then hopefully they check out some of the other shoes. They're like, oh my god, I love these barefoot shoes. I'm going to get a pair of
That'd be
walking
nice.
shoes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, that's fun. Yeah, watch this space.